What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day, and welcome to the first episode of Sunday Morning Conversation, where we talk with content creators big and small in the trading card business, Pokemon, and TCG space about cards, content, and everything in between. We have a special guest for our very first episode, someone who I have just come across in the last month or two, and I am loving every minute of their content. It is my friend ItsPhantomCards. Phantom, how are we doing, homie?
Doing good, doing good. You did that in one take too. That's crazy. That'd have taken me 20 takes to do.
I recited it like an hour last night, so yeah,
You killed it. That was great.
yeah. Well, outside of that, if you want to do a little intro on what you do and everything before we get started.
Yeah. So I started a channel back in January, and started the business. My whole thing has been starting a business from $0. Started it from $0 and kind of grown it to where it is now. Nothing crazy, but it's been fun to trying to grow and people learn throughout the process that I'm doing. You know, I'm learning and trying to teach people as I learn the different things and how to grow in a TCG space, and it's been fun. Mostly been doing bulk, focusing on bulk, but yeah. And I have Delfino Plaza playing in all of my videos. So
Okay, yeah. I'll have to probably throw that on there in post production somehow, because I was like, I gotta put this in somehow. It only more accurate, but
yeah.
So since I've only been kind of watching you probably for about a little over a month now, how long have you been on this journey selling cards?
So the journey started way before I started recording. In fact, I was really encouraged by Chase at TCG Bull Kings. He's like the grandfather of all of the bulk side of things.
Yeah.
And he really encouraged me. So I got into the bulk game and was doing that. Got into the direct program, was selling just on Tcgplayer at the time. And got involved in that, but didn't do any recording, didn't make any videos or anything. I was making videos. I've been making videos for years, but I was doing mostly gaming stuff. Didn't even think to do it on the card side. So I was just kind of doing that. Kind of got burnt out from it. Didn't like it. Really didn't like the direct program at the time. Just because I just didn't like the workflow. It's not that it was a bad program. I just didn't like the flow. So I stopped doing that, and then just kind of got out of it. I gave everything to my brother, and he was doing it. He still does it. But then I thought, you know what, I want to get back into this, but if I really want to stick to it and I really want to do it right, I want to do a recording and I want to document the journey. So then that's when I started back in January and started doing the stuff. So I probably took like a 2-year hiatus, but so I knew how to sell on Tcgplayer. I didn't come in with like zero knowledge, but I did come in with $0. So I could just kind of
build you seemed pretty polished. So I was wondering, so does that mean like you have a whole nother operation that he operates on the side of this project, or is that still going?
So my brother I just gave him, so we bought a massive bulk lot, like 400,000 bulk Magic cards. And that's where we really built a lot of, where I built a lot of that up. And then when I got tired of it, I just said, here, take it all. So he's been doing stuff on the side and just kind of doing it here and there. So I've not really been involved with that on his side of things. He's doing it all separately. So that was in the past couple of years, he's been still doing that, but I've just stepped away from it.
You get some royalties from that action, or is that just a gift?
No. I had made my money on that bulk. God, that's why bulk is so good. I mean, it was sifted bulk. Yeah. Like I bought it from a card store, but it was still like, he's like, I hand sifted it. I didn't really do a lot. You know, I pulled out what I needed. He's like, there's still a lot of value in here. By 2 boxes in, I had made my money back. So it's crazy how quickly you can make your money back in bulk. And so it was all free at that point. So I was just like, you just have it.
Oh yeah. I think that's the one thing when it comes to bulk that I don't want to say I get frustrated with, because I get it on the surface level. A lot of people will look at it and go, it is not worth the time, but every time, especially in my journey of listing literally everything, not caring about doing lots and stuff, whenever I get an order, I just had one last night. It was for, who was it? 141 love discs from Paldea Evolved. Just every copy of them ended up being like a $20 order. And I always think when I get those orders, like all those collections that all those things came from, I already made my money back on those. So yes, did I have to sit on these things for 6 months to a year? Okay, yeah, if you don't have the space, whatever. But in the end, it's just when that happens, it's just nothing but liquid, and then you can go do, whatever you want at that point and take more chances. And especially with bulk, if you can make $10 off of 100 cards that would never ever move, that's 1,000 more cards that you could probably find $40 out of, and then like the cycle, it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, yeah, that's really appealing about bulk. It's a game that it's almost impossible to lose at. You really got to screw something up to lose in bulk. And in fact, when I did it before this channel, I was doing the same thing that you have done. I was listing everything. I didn't care the value. The only thing I sifted for was I only wanted to list near mint. That's the only thing I ever sifted against, which a lot of the old Magic stuff was, not near mint. That I had gotten, so there was a lot that we weren't pulling that was still worth value. There was still lightly played and moderately played that easily could have had more cards that could have sold, but we were just doing near mint. I was just doing near mint, and then I was listing everything. I think I at one point had like nothing close to what you have, but I had like I want to say like 70 or 80,000 listed cards when we went to direct. So
a solid chunk.
It was a solid chunk. It was a lot. Yeah, so it was pretty.
Do you think I've heard some people thinking that? I don't think it would happen, but the bulk ecosystem is going to die, for lack of better words, once the Roka Sifter comes out because of how easy it's going to make listing. I don't technically agree with that, but I was wondering what your thoughts on that whole aspect of the hobby and business would be.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we're going to see a short-term dip for sure. I think when these all hit the market, everyone and their mom is going to have one, myself included, and I think yourself included. You said you bought one? So,
I bought 2.
Yeah. I don't blame you, especially with your inventory. But I think it's going to be really, really popular, and that's going to naturally bring a ton of cards into the market. But I think ultimately it'll even out. I mean, the market's so massive, and that's what people don't really think too much about. Like, there are so many buyers, and there's only so many sellers, and so I think that you're going to see a dip at first, but then once people get tired of it, when they have problems with their sifters, 6 months down the line, I think it'll go back to relative normal. I think we will probably see maybe a permanent drip or drop down, maybe 10-20% in overall lower end cards potentially. But at the same time, with Tcgplayer, with their direct thing, which I would love to talk to you about, because I talked a little bit about that. But with them going up to 40 cents a card, that's going to get people used to buying cards at 40 cents. So naturally, those cards that are not up to that dollar amount, I think that's already making a huge push in the market to go higher with how much cards sell through direct. So I think it might even itself out with that change. So I don't know. But my thing, if I had to say, I'm assuming it's going to go down a little bit. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and I see it even in like my local Facebook groups of people trying to buy bulk. And I know you buy your rates pretty close to what I do, which is like 10 per thousand and then 30 to 40,000 for, and this is Pokemon specifically, because I think both me and you kind of focus on the Pokemon side of things more. Yep. But especially when it comes to the potential dip and increase, when you're dealing with games like Magic or games that are very highly focused on playability, not that you can't play Pokemon, but I mean, most people, more people collect than play Pokemon versus Magic, stuff. Right. People who play Magic and have like 90 commander decks, you can't have enough copies of all these cards that are out there. So even if you have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 X more people selling bulk, all of these copies of cards are going to find homes in all these different decks for all these different people. And it's the $30 to $40 cards where they'll take that out of their deck and then they'll put it back in and swap them from deck to deck. And same thing with Pokemon. I mean, with Pokemon, you have so many decks where they require the same number of trainers or the same groups of trainers are amongst multiple decks. So instead of having to constantly swap those out, the more the merrier, and you can easily just plug and play the more sought after cards.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it'll be interesting to see because I think it's going to affect different markets differently, at least in the short term. But as you found out, like the people that are going to be getting into the bulk game, even like I had done before, like they're not going to realize how much work it even still is. Oh, no. You got a sifter, great. Now you got to list them, and now you got to ship them. There's not. It's not free. It's not free time. It doesn't solve all the problems. So these people that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have this thing and then are going to drop off in 6 months to a year, and it's no longer going to use it.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to do like proper research, but I would assume if I were to say out of every 10 people that start selling bulk, at least half quit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's got to be at least a 50%. So I know what my plans are with the sifter is, and it's going to be a little bit of a maniacal thing, but because I list everything, I'm literally going to I'm still going to have to sort by like rarity and whatnot,
Right.
but my floor is going to be 1 cent, and I'm going to treat it like two different employees. That way, every 1,000 cards I put in there, they just all get listed. What's going to be your strategy when you get this machine on what your floor is going to be, given the potential rise in price, like you said, of the potential floor of some of this bulk?
Yeah. So my goal, I've mostly been focusing on eBay. So it probably depends on what the bulk is.
Oh,
It's
that's
probably gonna
right. I
change.
forgot it's Tcgplayer exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can still use it, but I have to. I don't know. We don't know exactly how it's going to work yet in regards to like pulling
Correct.
scans
Sure.
out. So my idea when I saw it, I was like, well, this is how I'm going to use it. Is I'm going to take it, run through cards. If it's Pokemon bulk, I'll probably just be like, give me playables or anything over 25 cents, or 15 cents probably on the Pokemon side, and then I'll put the playables on Tcgplayer, and then I'll put the non-playables or the more collectible cards onto eBay. But I can go through Pokemon bulk pretty quickly, so I don't imagine I'm going to use it a ton for Pokemon just when I get backed up. But mostly what I want to use it for is Magic, because if I can just pull that thing, put however many cards in it, and then I'm going to take however many cards are over a quarter and then list them all on eBay. So if I can't pull the scans out of that, I'm just going to take whatever cards are in that tray, throw them in my scanner, use Card Uploader, which is the program that I use to upload to eBay, and do what I do now. So it's an easier way for me to sift, especially Magic bulk, but I think it could be used really well for Pokemon bulk once I get behind or while I'm doing other things. There's plenty of things you can be doing while that's working. So
Oh, sure.
it's really exciting. It's a really cool tool. So that's how I get to use it.
Have you ever used TCG Automate? And if not, do you like Card Uploader more, or are they all basically the same? Just depends on the interface and how you go about it.
So I use everything. I've used everything. Literally, since I've done a video on these, I've gotten, I would say, an email once a week asking me to check out their AI tool. I literally had the 7th person reach out to me. I counted. The 7th person reached out to me just this past week, and I'm like, I'm tired of testing y'all's AI tools. I get it. Like, I appreciate it.
If you have that many people reaching out to you, do I need to start addressing you as sir?
Yeah.
Or,
No, it's just people want to like, yeah, check out my tool. Please do the work for me. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be your tester. I appreciate you showing me my tool, but I'm happy with Card Uploader. So I've used them all. Card Uploader is the most accurate, and I think I've told everyone that I've tested one of these before, I'm like, the most important thing for me personally is accuracy. If it's not accurate, I can't use it, and I'm spending more time fixing than I am actually listing. So Card Uploader, by far, out of all of them I've tried, is by far the best and most accurate, at least for Pokemon. I can't speak too much on Magic, which I will plan on doing. Actually, some today I plan on running through it, so I can let people know in regards to Magic. But Pokemon, I use that. TCG Automate, I've used a good amount. I've worked with Andrew. TCG Automate's good. I would say if Card Uploader is 99% accurate, TCG Automate with their new AI that they've implemented in the past 3 or 4 weeks, I would say TCG Automate's about 95% accurate. So I prefer the more accurate, obviously. But
yeah.
TCG
Is
Automate
the 95% accurate? Sorry, is the 95% accurate set sorting beforehand or afterhand? Because I found the issue that I've had with Automate myself, which I love. I mean, I've been buying it for like months now, so I'm not trying to trash it or anything.
Yeah.
But if I throw in, especially like Magic, I have so many bulk Magic rares and stuff that I just thrown in a box that are completely unsorted. If I throw them all in one shot, it's like 90% of them all come back like promo pack versions, and this is the funny thing about time management in this hobby is, even though there's some things that take, like if you don't have a scanner, it's going to take forever. If you have a scanner, but you use like scan and identify for some stuff, there's going to be a lot of things that you have to upkeep, but it's still going to be ultimately faster. Then you move into the AI tools where, yeah, you might have to spend some time editing the pictures and finding the listings, but ultimately that's still more of a time save than not having a scanner and this and that. So it's a big mismatch of basically just what you're okay with spending the time on. And I just find that very interesting, especially with all these tools coming out that you'll have one person say, well, that's dumb, you should do this. And then you'll have one person say, well, that's dumb, you should do
Right,
this. And there's
right.
really just kind of what you're comfortable with doing and spending your time on.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because I think that it just depends on like what part of the process that you don't like the most, and can these tools and things make that easier. For me, the biggest thing for me, and the reason why I've switched to eBay, is because I hate set sorting and alphabetizing. I like doing it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. I don't like putting it into my inventory. I don't like zippering it into inventory.
That's fair.
That was always the hardest part for me. That was always the part that I was always behind on Tcgplayer. And so the idea of bringing a chaos sort system to eBay and being able to do it that way and use card uploader for that has been super beneficial for me. And that just I put the next batch of cards at the back, and that's very satisfying to me, very easy to work with. I don't have to zipper my cards, so that solved that problem for me, and that's my biggest issue. But in regards to TCG Automate, I don't know when the last time you used it. They've upgraded the AI, so I throw everything. I don't set sort. I don't alphabetize. The only thing that I do when it comes to card uploader, and I did this with TCG Automate when I would use it as well, is I would just separate like hollows and non-hollows, or like reverse hollows and hollows, because I want to be able to click edit variation hollow or edit variation reverse hollow. I don't want to have to like go through each individual one. That's the only reason why I do that. I think it saves me a little bit of time on that regard. But you could absolutely do it. But typically these automation tools, they don't know if it's a hollow or reverse hollow or a normal card. So they just give you the card and you have to put in the variation. But I would say TCG Automate has more features than Card Uploader, but it's a little less accurate. The only other issue I have with TCG Automate, which I've talked to Andrew about this a little bit, TCG Automate puts a watermark in your listings. You can turn it off in the settings. Settings. So I suggest anyone that uses TCG Automate, please turn this off. I don't like that it's there. I don't even think eBay likes that it's there. I'm pretty sure it's against eBay TOS. I don't know that for positive.
I did it. I had it on just because well, at the time I had it on because I think I was only doing like, I don't know. I want to say I had like 400 or 500 listings. Like I had listings on eBay, but before the AI tools, I can't describe how much hate I had towards listing on eBay. Like,
no, I would
maybe I shouldn't say hate. That's wrong, but I just. And then, so I let it kind of go. But once these tools started coming out, I was like, sweet. But then it was like, all right, well, there's still kind of upkeep and having to change all this stuff. Have you ever used Scan and Identify on Tcgplayer?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. So I've used that to sift before. I don't do it a ton, but I've used it before. I've never used it to like add to my inventory. I wanted to mention one more thing about the TOS.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if it's against TOS. I looked it up. It's borderline. I want to make sure I'm not like disparaging anyone. Andrew,
I got you.
Not, so if it's not, that's great. I don't want to say it's not. Personally, if I were you, and anybody watching, I would turn that off. I don't think there's any benefit to having it on.
I never thought about that aspect of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if it is. Yeah. It probably isn't. No one's gotten in trouble that I've heard of. So it's probably fine. But I don't personally. I don't see a benefit to myself having it on because it doesn't. It's.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like it's a good service and like Andrew's great, but also it's like you don't owe anything.
Yeah.
To
I already pay for the product.
The service other than the fee you pay.
Yeah.
That's kind of a weakness I have, especially honestly with dealing in anything where if I have a good rapport with someone, sometimes I'll kind of break my own back to keep to, I don't even know why I do it, but ultimately a lot of times you doing that is just going to push the field goal marker, whatever you want to call, more and more towards them to where that other person expects that from you. And then you really kind of set yourself up to be in a bad spot. But yeah, TC. So the reason why I asked about Scan and Identify is because with the Roka Sifter coming out, I'm really, really hoping that they have some kind of improvement to Scan and Identify, especially with Pokemon. Because with Magic, I mean, it's chef's kiss. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Pokemon, when you scan and identify reverse hollows, you basically have to manually identify every single card.
Really?
It is miserable.
Yeah.
Hollows, because like the same art is in 5 different sets, you could scan in 100 hollows of whatever, and it'll say, like, let's say like a Flareon hollow from 151. Out of 100 cards, 50 of them will say prismatic.
Yeah.
20 of them will be Cosmos Hollow from wherever.
Yeah.
And the amount of time it takes to manually change those almost defeats the purpose of using the technology in total. So I'm wondering what you think on the technology side of Tcgplayer, and honestly, like if you think they could fix some of that stuff, would they even be able to compete a little bit more with some of these AI tools?
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I agree. Scan Identify, from what I've used, is like not accurate enough. I would never trust Scan Identify to like click it and just be like, all right, good to go. Like it's not even close to that.
That's playing with fire, yeah.
Yeah, but also Rob made a good point in his video, RNG Games, when he was talking about this. He's like, this is a what was the word he used? Like a structured environment. This isn't the word, I'm butchering it, but it's a structured environment. It's going to be the same every single time, so that's going to improve. It's not like trying to picture whatever your scanner is or whatever pictures you have on your phone, or like it's going to be specifically made to be as good as it can be within Scan and Identify. I'm hoping they bring some improvements with Scan and Identify with this change, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, because if you're spending, personally, I wouldn't use a scanner or Roka Sifter, or the Roka Sifter just sell on Tcgplayer. For me personally, that's why I like it for eBay. I just want it to really just pull value out. Even if it can only do that, even for Tcgplayer, it would still be worth it. If you're not like yourself, where you're only listing cards that are worth over X amount. You want to pull cards over 10 cents. You just got a whole stack, and now you can just do what you normally would do and just sort those, alphabetize them, and then add them into your inventory. So I think that it's definitely still beneficial. But personally, for me, since I'm only using it truly to sift, I don't have too much of an issue with Scan and Identify, because it's not going to affect me. But I wouldn't trust it until we kind of see where it is. But I imagine it's going to be significantly more accurate than it is now.
Yeah. I would hope so.
Yeah.
When you switched to eBay, and when it was a video that you did a month and a half ago, was that something that you had been thinking of for a long time, given now that I know your history in selling cards, or was that something that you just kind of spur of the moment, had like a eureka moment of time versus money, and right now with what I'm doing, this is just better off for me in general?
Yeah. So from the very beginning, my goal was to go to eBay. When I found out about TCG Automate, was the first one I found out about, and then I didn't learn about Card Uploader until Pokemon Steven reached out to me, and he was like, use this tool, see what you think. And I said, okay, and I loved it, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to use. But when I found out about TCG Automate, I was like, wait a minute, the Chaos sort system sounds way better, and it solves my biggest issue, like I said before. So I was like, that's what I want to go to. So in my early videos, I even talk about, like, my plan is to go to eBay. I've always wanted to. I always thought I was going to do both, and I've gone back to both now. I am doing both.
Sure.
But my goal was to always put a bigger focus on eBay. And then when I made that switch, or when I was talking about that switch and I got the scanner, I had a bunch of people reach out. Not a bunch of people. A couple of viewers reach out and be like, hey, we've been doing it for this amount of time, and we found a lot of success. Here's some things that you can try. Basically, the biggest thing was just like, keep listing, just always list. That's the main thing people keep telling me, and so that's what I keep doing, and I found success, and that's kind of where I wanted to go always. So eBay's always been something that I've been wanting to work toward. But I think TCG
that's actually really something good. Yeah, they're both. I mean, I've said it before multiple times that every marketplace commands their own price.
Yeah.
I'm doing a video about it on a couple of days, actually, which is, it's especially watching you too with your success on eBay, because seeing some of these reverse hollows sell for like $4 or $5 blows my mind. And a lot of people will get into this, and I do it myself. I just did the other day, where you will catastrophize on, okay, you start seeing success from someone else selling somewhere. Maybe I should do that. And then you start thinking, okay, well, how do I do this? Where should I go? And ultimately, sometimes you might spend 2 or 3 hours thinking, okay, where should things go? I want to, and next thing you know, you've gone a whole day, you haven't listed anything, and now you're feeling even worse because now you've just been in quicksand all day. And ultimately, it's bulk. Ultimately, it's bulk, and even whether you make $5 or $4 on eBay, or 30 or 40 cents on Tcgplayer, knowing that you have a set-in margin is just something you have to be okay with, and that you're never, ever I shouldn't say never, but you should be comfortable knowing that you're not going to get top dollar on literally everything you sell.
Yeah.
And you've kind of opened me up to trying to, at least get in a habit of selling on eBay more. I have started at least doing like a pseudo you. I'll just grab a small stack of cards. I don't care what it is. Just feed it through the scanner and let it go. And surprisingly, I mean, I've had some small amounts of success. Nothing compared to you. How many cards do you have listed on eBay right now?
Let me check. It's oh good, I have eBay listed open. Actually, I had the whole thing and I just re-clicked the same tab. I have 4,500 listings, but I've got 4,800 in quantity. I don't normally combine my listings ever, but those were some of the older ones I had done. So yeah, 4,500 listings, mostly bulk.
And you basically just do like your 100 cards a day whenever you stream or do whatever. You don't do anything else during the day.
So no, I list right now. My goal has been 200 a day for March.
Okay.
But it has been in the past 100 a day. I try not to do it a ton. Like when I'm streaming, I will try to list like 100 or 200 while I'm streaming because that's what I like to do. But I'm really bad at staying focused when I'm streaming. So it's hard for me to get through. It takes me way longer than it would normally.
Hey, I have a really hard time staying focused when I'm not streaming. So I mean, it's,
exactly, exactly. So so it's not like I'm not the most productive on that. So I try to get my listings done when I'm not doing that. But it's fun. I like listing or I like live streaming with it and listing on the long side. But I typically like to sort when I'm sort or sift when I'm live streaming because that's a little bit easier for my brain to kind of answer while I'm doing it, and it's a little bit less brainless. Whereas the listing, I have a little bit more thinking to do, and that takes a lot of me. If I have to think, it's going to be difficult. So typically I'm pretty slow with that.
That's been my biggest hiccup with content in general because like for my job, I work at a pharmacy, and it is social battery draining, especially with. Not to put anybody down, but when you're dealing with sick people who are just cranky all day, the last thing you want to do is go home and speak to a camera or do whatever. So part of the bulk thing for me in sifting, or not even sifting, sorting thousands and thousands of cards alphabetically, it just gives me a chance to just shut off, not talk to anybody. And in doing that, it has made it a little difficult in trying to get back to who I am as a very outgoing person, but it's very awkward to do the content thing. In all of your videos, you look like you've been doing this since you were out of your mother's womb. Have you always been so charismatic and energy driven? I mean, do you ever make mistakes? Because a lot of people might see your content and go, it's super easy, but when they get behind a camera, they get that stage fright in their room. How has the journey been for you in starting content and as far as that stuff goes?
I mean, I've always been very outgoing, similar to you, like you were saying, and I've always been like, I did theater in college. That helped a lot, being on stage and doing acting. That was I didn't know I even liked that until college, and then I got involved with it. My first play was The Odyssey. Loved that show, and that made me fall in love with theater. And so I kind of learned a little bit about expression and things like that and acting in that, obviously. So then I got into directing with that too. So always really loved theater. And then I've been doing videos, my very first YouTube channel, which no one has seen, and was back in when I first got into college, back in 2011. I had some really bad Minecraft videos. But then I started back up at right before COVID. In 2020, I started my other channel. It's ItsPhantomFam. And I did everything on there. I'm mostly gaming. It was all mostly Pokemon gaming stuff, and I've been making videos on there for years and years and years. I've told people I've done thousands, and that's not an exaggeration. I've done thousands of videos. So if you go back, you will see how uncomfortable I was in front of a camera. So it's just kind of repetition and doing it a lot. But even if you watch my first video on this channel, if you go back to my very first video, I'm not as
I did
outgoing.
That's why I wanted to ask, because I went back and I was like, this is not the same guy from 2 months ago. But it just shows to show, no matter what you do, whether it's cards or content, it's You're your own worst enemy. I mean,
Yeah.
every time I go put something out now, even though I'm having like the smallest smidgen of success, everything I do I think is god awful. Everything I think I do
It's
is,
not. Yours is very good content.
miserable. And especially when it comes to the content side of things, which I really recommend anybody who gets into card. I mean, really into anything nowadays, content should be a complementary
Mm-hmm.
part of that aspect. But I did stand up once, and it
Nice.
was so. I remember I was so nervous,
Yeah.
and I had invited all my friends from high school to come out. And this was like a little like dive bar that usually has like 4 people, and it ended up being like 50 people that showed up because they had their friends. I was so nervous. I went up there, I did my first joke, and I bombed
Oh.
so hard. There was no, I mean, when I say it was void of sound, it was nothing. And in that moment, it was like this huge weight. It was like,
Really?
okay, now I can be me.
Yeah.
Then I ended up accidentally knocking the mic stand over, fell into a bunch of speakers, and there was a bunch of
Oh
feedback for
no.
like 5 minutes because no one could find. It was like the worst thing that could possibly happen. But sometimes in the worst moments, that's when you really kind of realize it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Kudos to you. I've always heard when it comes to stand up, you have to bomb, and I'm like, that would make. I don't know if I could do it. I mean, that takes a lot of courage and a lot of effort. And you seem very comfortable in front of the camera as well. What has been your journey with that?
Forcing myself to do it.
Yeah.
Because I started my channel 4 years ago, and I
Yeah.
think I made three introductory videos.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing for me was just the I like my fortress of solitude. When I get home, especially with again with the job and stuff, it's like I just don't want to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I get in my own head, I'm a very big catastrophizer.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take one little thing and run across 100 yards with it, and the next thing you know, it's the worst is going to happen no matter what. So you should never even try. And I did that for a really, really long time. And once I started doing the little like pack series, that's what I did to kind of start getting comfortable with just talking, because I don't think you're ever going to get comfortable speaking in a room by yourself.
Yeah.
But as I started doing that, and then started doing unboxings, and camera angle bad phone camera, this, that, the other, you start thinking all these things are going to matter, and they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost every time I would post a video, there was never anything negative or nothing. All the things that I worried about were never things that were mentioned. And
Yeah.
as you start seeing those, they're positive reinforcements in a sense that the things you're worrying about aren't things you need to be worrying about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure it's a saying that's been said before, but I have a very big mantra I've been trying to tell myself, which is in all aspects of life, there's nothing to worry about until there's something to worry about.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's just count to 3, turn it on, go for it, and then the worst thing that's going to happen is someone says, "You're dumb."
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, okay, well,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
can't do anything about that. So
yeah, that's typically what I get too. The negative is just like ridiculous. Yeah, it's a good point. Like I think that's a very good point, because I feel like I never really thought about it that way, but I feel like, yeah, when I think about the super negative comments I get, it's typically not things that I ever even thought about. It's just like, okay, I'm fat. Good job. Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope you
Thanks for
have
pointing
a
out
better
I
day.
have morbidly obese.
Yeah, yeah, like thank you. Have a great day. Like that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried more about my mic quality, or my, like the video, or my editing, or so that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's never.
I've gotten
never too much.
kind of good at recognizing constructive criticism, and even sometimes there's negative comments, but they're negative comments that are still constructive in some manner.
Yeah.
Going on to the point you just made, how have you been able to handle that and kind of weed out? You don't want to ignore what people are saying, because it's ultimately content you're making for them, but also weeding that out with the swill that really doesn't.
No, that's a good question. I think that that's a difficult thing for really anyone, and I think I'm still learning on, like, I'm always learning with everything, but I think I'm learning on like what is constructive and what isn't. I can definitely tell very quickly what isn't, or at least like I see what you're saying. So the biggest thing I get, which is always really funny for me to see, is someone will say, "You didn't start from zero." And I'm like, but I did.
Yeah.
I had $0 in the bank, metaphorically, what we've been showing, or not metaphorically, like what we've been showing on the channel. I started with 0. And everything that I've made since then has been from the cards. Yes,
Yep.
I had supplies. Yes, I had, a lot of people like to say I had 400,000 cards in inventory. No, I went through literally a 7,000 count box of Magic cards, and that's what I started with. That's it. So some people say like you should change your title to you started with $200 in inventory and $100 in supplies. I'm like, oh yeah, that really rolls off the tongue.
Where does that
there.
stop?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like you could start the series and be like, on June 1st of 1995 at 4:57 p.m. I started with 1,326 cards.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like I see what they're saying. I understand why they think that it's not from 0, but like,
sure.
Yeah, where does that stop? I have a house. Oh no, that's that. You have a house. You know, like we always. It's been a running joke on my channel of like, you know, what is 0? What is, you know, like it's an easy thing to say, even if it was not technically true, which it absolutely is. Like I would still use that title because it sounds better, and it might be clickbaity, and you might think it's fishy in that regard, but it's just like that's YouTube. That's what you got to do. You got to play the game. If you're not willing to play the game, you want to label yours episode 42 starting from $200 in supplies. You know, like be my guest, but it's going to be hard to get people to watch that compared to if I make it a little bit more, you know, clickable. So yeah, I think that there are some feedback that I've gotten that I'm like, wow, that's great. Like I'm glad they said that. And then there's some other ones that I'm like, I could ignore, and it's kind of trying to find that. And yeah, I think I'm still learning with that of like what is the best to learn, and what, like, it's always interesting when I know something and then someone gives feedback that seems reasonable that I could see another YouTuber making that I know doesn't work because I've done it for so long. So it's always really interesting to see like that could be seen as constructive criticism, and someone can change that up when I would be like, no, that's not what I would change. So, but there's always still some that I'm like, is that the right choice or is it not? You know, so I don't know. Still learning that one. That one's a difficult one.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just like cards in a sense because it's fun to play around with. Because with cards, ultimately, the worst thing that's going to happen is you lose a little bit of money. You list the wrong card in the wrong spot, and the worst thing that happens with YouTube is someone calls you a fat whatever and they unsubscribe. And it's like, all right, well, that's one person out of 330 million. Okay.
Yeah.
But then you can take a learning lesson from that and move on. Same thing with cards. You know, there's plenty of times where I've listed the wrong thing somewhere, or what did I just did it 2 days ago. I listed, it was a big one. And I was using I didn't catch it on Automate, and I had one of those, Mega Charizard promos from the UPC.
Yeah.
It listed it as something else, and I didn't catch it, so I ended up selling it for like $15 instead of $40. And I was like,
oh yeah,
okay. But when really bad things happen like that, it's the easiest way to not do it again or implement a strategy to do so. In your selling and content career so far, what would you say is the biggest learning lesson or hiccup that you've had that you've really had to change pace on or fix, assuming there is one?
Yeah. No, I would say I did a video, and it's kind of where I focused on eBay almost exclusively for 3 or 4 weeks now. I was trying to do both, and people were asking me like, what do you list on Tcgplayer? What do you list on eBay? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm learning that, you know, and I don't know. And I still don't fully know the answer. I'm working right now. My answer is putting the playables on Tcgplayer and putting everything else on eBay. But I don't know if that's the right answer. So I'm learning that. But I think for a while I thought I was going to try and do both. And I was using TCG Automate to list on Tcgplayer, and I tried to do the chaos sort that Andrew did through that. And it does not work very well. Not because of Andrew, but because since it's not automatically added to Tcgplayer, it was such a hassle. And then I tried to do the same thing with eBay and use Card Uploader for eBay. So I wanted to use both platforms and try to do both. And I balanced way too much, way too quickly. And I was like, I felt like, and then I was also doing like my website with a rip and ship. I thought I was going to do a rip and ship for a little bit. And I was doing both websites and also like always trying to think of new ideas. And I'm like, finally, I had a video where I'm like, I'm struggling. Like, this is difficult. I don't know.
I think that was the first one I saw of yours that got me hooked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I felt like I was really being pulled, and a lot of the wonderfully constructive criticisms in that comment section was like, stick to one. Like, you're doing too much. You're doing way too much. And I had actually gotten that feedback before. Multiple people were like, you're jumping into too much right now. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I think it's fine. And then I realized, oh no, they're very right. And I ran into that and I was like, all right, that's it. I got to stick to one. And I made that decision that eBay was going to be the one for now. And now I've sprinkled very lightly back into Tcgplayer. But that's always my second focus, and only if I can get to it. And I don't feel like guilty if I don't list anything on Tcgplayer. My focus is eBay. And if all I can get to is eBay, then that's all I'm doing. So that was my biggest hurdle that I've dealt with, is trying to do way too much, way too quick.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously you've had success with it. And honestly, it's probably, if you're just starting off and you have to pick two, it's probably good to do it that way, even though I am a little bit more of a TCGplayer person, because with eBay, you actually, I won't say get rewarded, but it is beneficial to be listing every day. Whereas with Tcgplayer, it doesn't matter. Your inventory is just there, and whoever happens to come across your store, fine. But with eBay, it's so important that you're listing daily and keeping up that commitment, that if you're doing it the other way, it could be detrimental more in one direction than the other. And I'm kind of going through the same thing right now with too many hands and too many jars with the time I have, especially with a full-time job. And I've just sent you the picture, but I am joining direct as of this morning. There's been so many nights where, and even though my friend who had some very choice words for me actually mentioned this, which is partially true, it's nice packing orders and getting 30 to 40 orders a night, but also the time commitment to that is I don't do anything else. And because I've been so deep into the bulk, I mean, like the bulk side of things, I kind of lost sight of, maybe it's a little more important to not necessarily start charging $5 a card, but changing the pricing up just a little bit to be able to free myself up, because I don't think I've sorted anything in like 2 months. It's just been packing orders. And then when it comes to other stuff like content and there's just no time. So the direct side of things, even though Pokemon doesn't move as fast as Magic, I would say out of the 180,000 cards I have listed, I would say it's probably 100,000 Pokemon and then 80,000 Magic. The Magic stuff I'm going to fly through, even though it's bulk. I'll be interested to see how that turns out. I know you said I just found out today that you were on direct before. What was it that got you out of it originally? And then I'm assuming it's the pricing model that's going to get you back into thinking about it at some point.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get back into direct, at least not. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think I could see myself doing it. With the 40-cent change, that was super appealing. And I'm so interested to hear with your experience how that's going to go for you. Because for me, I think my floor when I was on Tcgplayer Direct, I want to say it was maybe even 5 cents. Like, it was low. And I would never do that again. But I remember the very first order I did on TCG Direct was like an $800 order, and it was great. I dropped it off at a drop-off section for UPS, and someone stole them. So I had to not only lose those cards, but I lost the money for that too.
Oh, that's rough.
So that sucked. So that wasn't fun, but that wasn't necessarily why. I think when I went to direct, my inventory was not direct ready. It wasn't set, sorted, and alphabetized in the release date. It was by alphabet. So I had to resort it and redo it like 3 times. And I just kept making mistakes. And all the mistakes that I had made prior to it had not shown itself until I got into direct. Then I really saw how bad I was at making sure I didn't make mistakes. So there was just a lot of stuff that was involved in it. And then ultimately, I just didn't like doing pull orders. Like, it just wasn't fun for me. It wasn't enjoyable. It was the least enjoyable part of the whole process for me. So anytime I got a reimbursement invoice, I was just like, ugh, I got to go spend like 2 hours doing this. And I just didn't like it. So I got off. So then my idea, I was like, okay, well, I'm doing X amount of sales outside of direct. I don't remember exactly how many I was doing at that time, maybe 10, 15 a day. I was like, well, if I just go off of direct and I still get those sales, like, that should do well. And then when I got off direct, my sales went to like 0. And I was like, damn, I like sold through all the cards that most people wanted. So then I was just like, all right, I think I'm done. So that's when I stopped.
I did direct. I want to say 2 or 3 years for 1 month. When I first started, I've played Magic competitively for 15 years. I mean, I've been all over the place.
Yeah.
With mild success, I've had a few top 8s and top 16s under my belt, but one of the guys that I used to play with had like a ridiculous amount of money and he just didn't care. And so he had this huge collection he didn't want anymore. And when I told him I was going to start selling, he was like, "Hey, sell this for me. Just take a percentage of whatever." And I was like, "Okay." And when I first started, started through RNG games. That I easily have learned so much from that channel. It's ridiculous. And when it came to direct, I was like, all right, some of this stuff I'm not going to have enough time for. So let me just put it all on direct and then go from there. It was like $4,000 in a day. It was just like the amount of cards that went in one day. I had like a oh shit moment. I was like, what did I just get myself into? So I emailed them, had them take me off. And with what I want to do, which is mass box openings, I've done probably a half a dozen or so with Magic, and part of doing that kind of thing, it's important to do direct because some of these lower cards that are not going to move, you kind of need direct to kind of pump through them. And when you're getting, because people may not know with direct, the fee is 50% for anything under $3, which is a lot. But when you factor in not having to pack each order individually, the postage you're paying for, like it's almost like an all-in-one package. So now that instead of some cards going for 2 cents or 3 cents, you're getting a flat 20 cents for every card, even if they move slower. It's a time versus money kind of situation. And with the amount of unboxing that I've done and the singles that I'm sitting on, I'm pretty confident that just in the bulk, it might be a $1,000 to $2,000 start. But I'm going to start chronicling that here soon.
Yeah.
Is that something you plan on doing down the road? Is because there's websites out there where you can kind of get the EV of boxes and figure out where to put cards. And is that something that you plan on introducing once you start getting a little more solidified in your processes now, or is Pokemon going to be your main focus going forward?
So I did that before. I did it with Commander decks. Back when I was selling before, I would buy Commander decks and break them apart, sell them on the direct at the time. But even before direct, with direct you had to be really careful. You know, before direct I felt like I could easily see the EV and it's not high as percentage, but then with direct you have to think of like the 50%, and so it was a little bit more complicated to find like exactly what would sell well. But yeah, I did that. I did it with Commander decks. I opened up. I think I would buy. I think this is Adventures of Forgotten Realm. Would that have been back in 2022?
That was like 2022, 2021.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing. I was opening up Commander boxes of those. I'd buy them on Amazon because they were just like cheap as hell. And then they would be like double, you know, like the cards would sell for double what were in them. So I would break them apart and sell them. I've seen, there's a guy I watch named Card Throne who does that on eBay. I like his stuff a lot. I really like his content. And he seems to find success on eBay with that. So eventually I might look into that. I do want to start looking into ways in which I can source product that's not Facebook Marketplace. I would love to stop dealing with Facebook Marketplace as much, you know, and have to get like bulk deals that way. I would love to find like online ways to make money a little easier. I like, you know, Facebook Marketplace isn't that bad. I do enjoy meeting with people, especially if they're also Pokemon fans, which typically they are if they're selling me Pokemon bulk. So I like to just nerd out with them, and I've met some really cool people doing it that way. But ultimately, if I can find a more consistent way to get product, that would be the goal. So maybe that's another way I can look into, is looking into that kind of stuff.
Yeah. How many local game stores do you have around you?
A ton. I don't even know.
So
probably like 12 or 15.
I'm actually editing it today, but one of my, and I just might be me being lucky. One of my main sources is local game stores. Of the 5 or 6 around me, 3 of them don't deal with bulk at all.
Really?
So one of them I'd never been in before. 2 of them I've had some rapport with them, but and I would really suggest anybody do this. Just be honest. Say, hey, I'm in the bulk business. Do you have bulk? Is it sifted, unsifted? Because the 2 that of all 3 of them, they would bulk their stuff out to Cool Stuff Games or Star City or whoever. And once they said they were bulking it out, that was an opportunity. So when I would go in, I'd say, hey, I will buy it from you. I will buy it for you. Because a lot of these guys, they'll have a trade-in rate and a cash rate.
Yeah.
I told them I would buy it from them at their trade-in rate, I'll drive, I'll pick it all up. Just let me give you money.
Yeah.
And it was like an instant yes, because that's an employee they don't have to pay. That's time of the day they don't have to take out of doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Unsorted, whatever. So if there's game stores that you frequent or and really anybody out there who's trying to get in bulk, you may not find luck in doing it, but you never know if you don't ask. And I would strongly suggest doing it, because you'd be surprised.
You know, it's funny. I actually did that. That was actually how I started. Was I called up game
really?
stores and asked them, and I got the very first bulk deal I ever did was from a game store. And so I don't know why I've not done that yet. Don't release this video yet. I want to go do it real quick today. No, but no, I need to call. I need to call a lot of people, because I think that, or even go in. But I've called before. One I had a bad experience with. I bought. I went to go buy a book, and their card smelled like smoke at a card store, which was crazy. And I was like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I can't. I think I bought like one box from them. They wanted to sell me like 30,000, and I bought like 7,000. I'm like, I'll buy this box since you guys did the work. I'm really sorry, but I cannot take a bunch of smoke. And then I just went and I just threw it away. I was like, it's all damaged. I can't. You could maybe, if you could find some higher value cards, you could maybe get that smell out of it. But that many cards, I was just like, it's not even worth my time or effort. But yeah, I need to do that. I've actually, I'm kind of bad. I'm confident in front of a camera, but for some reason, when it comes to game stores, I feel kind of uncomfortable. I don't know. I think stores in general, I just feel kind of like everyone's looking at me. I know that's not how that works, but I've always been that way. And so it feels a little awkward for me to like ask that. So I don't know. I just need to get over my fear and go ask. Yeah. Maybe I go drive around today and go do that, because that's a great idea. And I think that I've found success before, and I don't know why I wouldn't do it now.
I had that same feeling when it came to recording in public. And do you know Pat? I can't think of his last name. The guy that Deep Pocket Monster.
I don't. Yeah, I've watched his stuff. Yeah.
He had a quote that, I mean, sometimes when you hear things, it's just like beautiful. Yeah. He said, "You're insignificant," or something along those lines. It's like, if you're nervous about this or nervous about that, or you don't matter. They don't care about you.
No.
So maybe try to have that mindset next time you walk into a store, because ultimately, if you're upfront with them, I mean, you have to do it with tact. You can't just go in there, it's someone else's business, and be like, "Hey, I'm here to make more money than you." But if you dress it up right, and not only that, but I mean, grease the wheels a little bit. There was a store where they didn't want to do it, so I went in there and I started buying from like my unboxings and stuff. I wouldn't haggle with them about price. If it was over MSRP or whatever, here, let me buy it. Sweet. Or I remember one time I was in there and someone backed out on buying some Pokemon set. The packs had just gone up, and he was like all mad that I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. How much? Here you go. Bang. Yeah. And sometimes those little things will get the wheels moving into something that you would never imagine. And now I'm, in the spot where I've got pretty much bulk at will. Yeah. Are there shots like that where you thought about maybe taking a chance and never did, and kind of kicked yourself for not doing it?
I mean, yeah, I think it's easy to look at things and be like, I wish I would have done something, or I wish would have been better with that. Yeah, I think anytime I let fear get in the way of things, I think that it's never been good for me in regards to things I want to do. As a kid, and you probably were similar maybe, but as a kid, I felt like I wasn't allowed to like Pokemon. I wasn't allowed to like Magic, or I wasn't allowed to be a nerd. Like I was supposed to hide that part of me. And it wasn't until college, really, even through high school, I felt that way. But it wasn't until college when I was like, kind of like that mentality that you're saying. It's like, nobody gives a shit. Like, who cares if I'm a nerd? Like, why does... So I very much learned that especially when it comes to my hobbies. Like, now I'm a huge nerd. Like, obviously I'm a massive nerd, but I do like sports. I like football. Yeah. My love is sport or nerdiness things. And I was straight up with my wife, from the day I met her, I quoted The Office and SpongeBob, and she quoted it back, and I'm like, we're getting married. Just being nerdy.
What's your favorite Office quote? I gotta hear it.
Oh,
what's your favorite Office line?
I don't know if I can say a favorite, but one I just thought of today was, "Dwight, you ignorant slut." I love that. Yeah. That's a classic episode.
Mine is easily that's why they call it murder and not muck duck.
Not muck duck, yeah. the
Anyway,
R,
sorry,
yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I had to
No,
find
you're
out
good.
when on
That's
the office
perfect. Yeah,
too. So
I love it. I've seen it like a million times, so I quote it all the time.
yeah, there's a line. It's in you ever see? There's a Point Break. Is there right before the final heist of the movie? Patrick Swayze's line is, fear leads to hesitation, and hesitation brings out the worst of your fears." And as I've gotten older, and like now that I'm past the 40 mark, there's no more holding back. It's
Yeah.
throwing things at the
Yeah.
wall, and if I have to be an 80-year-old Walmart greeter, then so be it. But from
Yeah.
now on, it's I'm allowed to be nervous. I'm allowed to be scared, but at some point, I'm going to count to 3, get out there and do it. And
Yeah.
like I said, usually the end result is not as bad as you think.
Yeah,
so.
I think that especially when it comes to like public recording, like you talked about, I've never done it. I don't know if that is a fear of mine. And I don't even know why. Like, I really don't care that much about what people think about me. I genuinely don't. For the most part, obviously I do. Everyone does, but it's very easy for me to ignore kind of stuff like that. But
Sure.
I don't know what it is about public recording. It just makes me feel so. I mean, it makes everyone feel awkward. And I'm sure once you do it more, it stops being awkward. But like even someone said, I thought about going Pokepalooza, which is a card show that goes on in Indy every month. I think they're changing the name, but it's basically just a big card show. And I wanted to go I think last Sunday or the Sunday before. I think it was last Sunday. And I was talking about it to my stream. And they're like, you should record it. And I'm like, hell no. I was like, no chance if I recorded that. It just feels so weird for me. But then I'm just like, you know what? It probably would be a cool video and be fun. So like, I feel like I don't know. I overthink it too. Cause then I'm like you said, like I overthink it. Cause then I'm like, but some people might not want to be recorded. I don't want to be the asshole that's recording it. Or I certainly don't want to be the asshole that thinks he's cool enough to record,
Sure.
So it's just like, but ultimately no one cares.
Well, no one cares, and also it's kind of the norm nowadays, and that's something I had to keep telling myself. It's as I did a video like a year ago where I was doing coin flips to like, and everything I would win or buy, I would just give away to a kid. And every time I would go up to a table and say, "Hey, do you mind if I record you? This is what I'm doing."
Yeah.
And every now and then I'd get a look, but after like 2 people, I was like, "Okay, this was silly to worry about," and it ended up being a fun thing. And
well, that's encouraging.
yeah,
I think you're right. I need to do more of that, and I appreciate you encouraging me that way.
Well, not only that, but I mean, even if you are nervous, not to glaze you too much, but you come off as a very confident person. Like you just exude, like again, probably from your acting and stuff, but you just have such a dominant personality that I think you could probably fake it till you make it to the point where you start feeling comfortable. Actually, I have a buddy who does like a little Magic the Gathering show, and I've been trying to poke him to do something, and he went to a card show and started just. He wasn't even doing anything crazy. He was just chronicling his deals that he was making. And you could tell from the first deal to like the 7th one, it was like that. It was a complete change. So yeah, give it a shot. I like to see you go to a show and buy, I don't know, Pidgeys from somebody. That'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. I think it'd be cool. I thought about different ways that I could make card shows work for the business, and so yeah, that's a good idea. I think we should. I definitely should get out of my comfort zone a bit with that, because I that's the thing. I love interacting with people, and when a camera's not on, I'm still very comfortable with like talking to people and being a nerd. Like whenever I do deals on Facebook Marketplace, I'm always excited to meet the person and excited to do deals, because typically they're a bunch of Pokemon nerds. And in fact, I did a deal with this girl that I've done another deal with, and I didn't know what to say because I was so awkward at that point, because it threw me off so bad. But I was like, "Oh, do you guys collect?" Like that's typically what I was like. "What are you guys collecting?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't collect. He does." And he was like in the car, and it was his cards, but she was just giving it to me, and I was like, "Okay." And then I just like, "Thank you." Like I just didn't know what to say anymore. I was just like, that threw me off. So it's just like, but typically it's very comfortable to me to just talk and nerd out. And so if I'm with a bunch of people that are also nerdy, I don't think they're gonna care that I'm being a nerd.
I can see you doing the Michael Scott thing where he just goes, huh, and then just turn around and just walk away.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So, and she ended up doing another deal with me. It's very, here's the money. Here's the card. Thank you. Goodbye. This is like, this is great. It's fun when it's like that. It's easy, but it's also fun when I get to sit with a person and nerd out with them and be goofy with them. And that's always fun too.
I think my favorite interactions are the ones that aren't like that, where I try to be personable and then they're just like money now, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so then I'll be overly like I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it's overly just jubilant and like really just trying to hammer home like
Yeah.
how much of a giant grump you're being,
Yeah.
and I get to revel in a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions or anything about that? Because I think we're probably running out of time here in a little
Yeah.
bit, so I wanted to make sure if you had anything you wanted to go over, or
Yeah, I'm curious. You talked about moving over to direct. What was like the decision making for that, and what do you hope to get out of that?
it was definitely the time. Yes, there's probably going to be. I think they changed direct a little bit now, where because before it was every 2 days you would get a return invoice, or once you hit like I think the limit was $300. So
Right.
once one of those two things triggered, well, I think $300 was the first trigger, and then if you didn't have hit that limit in 2 weeks, then it would trigger one.
Right.
So there will be a night or two that I have to spend 2 or 3 hours pulling cards, but between you, Pastor, and someone else talking about eBay a lot, that really got the time versus money thing. Because with me in bulk, I don't mind making a couple extra dollars if I can on eBay, but I just want to get this stuff out the door, and I got so focused on doing that that I just had no time. So now that I can do direct to where, basically my plan going forward is going to be during work days, I'm going to have my floor set 40 cents across the board. And I'll have free shipping over $5 turned off. I'm going to do like $1.99 or $2.99 shipping.
Gotcha.
If I get an order, sweet, make a couple extra bucks, whatever. On the weekend, when I have all the time in the world, I'll still have direct going, but then I'm going to turn my marketplace back down to 15-cent floor, free over $5. Because then I don't have to worry about the time crunch, and I'll be able to do like this whole weekend. I'm doing nothing but recording content all day today and tomorrow, so that way I don't have to worry about it during the week.
Yeah.
But now I'll be able to get off work, do a video, do this. That's been my big hiccup with streaming, because I want to be able to stream, whether it's similar stuff like you, where you just kind of chat and sort cards, or do some more gaming, and it's just impossible to do when you have 5 hours of work when you get home every night.
Yeah.
And honestly, just being able to do bigger and better things. So I think me and you both, when we see our friend Pastor and stuff, being able to buy bigger and better collections.
Yeah.
I get so enthralled in the bulk world because I'm addicted to the treasure hunt. When I can buy bulk and I find it's like that's all I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But realistically, at some point you've got to bump up to the next level, and you can still have bulk as the foundation and whatnot. But ultimately, having more time to be able to do that stuff is where I think direct is going to help me, and I'll be able to do more unboxings and kind of just really start churning and burning. And ultimately, outside that, I hate my job. I've hated it for a long time.
Yeah.
I love the people I work with, but being in a pharmacy, the only thing you can do to make more money is be a pharmacist, and I will never do that.
Right.
And now it's literally I get out of that job, and it's like, what do I need to do to make sure I don't have to go back there as soon as possible? So I think that's another reason why I like bulk so much, is because it's a means to an end. Like, I'm very transparent. I do not want to do some of this stuff some of these days, but when I put anything up to the job I'm at now, and I'll say, is doing this going to get me out of this situation? And if the answer is no, then I just don't do it. That's why I quit drinking and I quit doing all this other stuff. It's worth it in the end. So yeah, so direct's going to free up so much time, and I really hope it turns out. And the best part about direct too is you can always like say, I don't want to be it anymore.
Yeah.
Or if you make enough mistakes, I think they have like a 98%
like failure rate.
error rate.
Yeah.
So even if the worst happens and I have a bunch of missing cards, I'm in there for 3 or 4 months and I get booted out, you can reapply after 6 months to a year. So it's not like it's end goal. So best case scenario, in it for the long run, and I get a nice little cash injection to start doing their stuff. Worst case scenario, I fail miserably and I get to make a video and everyone gets to flame me. So it's like,
Yeah, it's perfect.
Engagement, success, mix of both, win-win.
Well, you mentioned another question. You mentioned the drinking thing. I've also stopped drinking. I've been sober for about a little over a year. So I appreciate.
I'm actually about to hit the year this next week. So
congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Man.
It's something that I don't really talk about on my channel too much. I've talked about it in live streams, but But it's definitely something that like I struggled with before, and similar. It sounds like it's just like, all right, this isn't beneficial to my life anymore. And as my therapist loves to say, he's like, you got to weigh the costs and benefits, like. And I was like, what is the benefit? I feel good for a couple hours, but the cost is terrible. It doesn't make sense for me. I'm not saying everyone should stop drinking, but
no,
that made me think like I think it was a video or two ago that you mentioned doing some like weight loss stuff and some gaming stuff. How has that been going well with like the other channels you're doing?
I haven't started it yet.
That's fine.
I kind of failed a little bit. I told myself I would, and then the work got in the way. But I made the goal this weekend is I'm gonna get it all ironed out, and that way, once direct happens on Monday, then we can get in a rhythm. Which you can make a goal and you can fail, but as long as you get back up and go for it. But yeah, with the drinking thing, man, it's weird because when you have a goal, I don't remember where I heard it, but it was like if your habits don't reflect your goals, you have the wrong habits. And I didn't have a problem to the point where I was like, in a toilet for 5 hours, but I'm 40 now. I can drink half of what I did when I was 20 and feel twice as worse.
Yeah.
So I would sleep instead of getting up at 8, I'd be getting up at 10 or 11, and then I'd be behind, and then nothing was getting done. So it's like, all right, I had my fun. Technically, there really is no upside to drinking except for the like I said, the small little social whatever, but ultimately there's nothing good about it at all. And I want everything here more than the couple hours of an escape that's going to net me a couple hours of misery the next day. So at that point, it was really easy to make the decision, even though there's some days where it's hard because I don't know about you, but my friend group I've had since the second grade. It's like the 6, 7 of us through thick and thin, everything. So for me, when it comes to having a couple drinks, I kind of sink back into how that was back in the day, when in actuality, it's just me in a room, maybe talking to someone, maybe not, and drinking by yourself is a whole nother issue, which I never wanted to get into or be a part of. So it just takes a lot of self-reflection. You have to be really honest with yourself in any kind of change, especially when it comes to that. And that's probably the most liberating part about it. And once that switch flips, it's an easy decision.
Yeah, it's you don't realize how much drinking is in your day-to-day life, like how prevalent it is just everywhere. Like anywhere you read online, you and it's always shown in a good thing, in a good way, and then you're like, well, that's not good for me. I can't get that goodness out of it anymore. Like I may have been able to in the past. When I would drink, I'm very social, but I always joked like, if I'm at a bar and I'm not drinking, I want to go talk to everybody. If I'm at a bar and I'm drinking, I have to go talk to everybody. Yeah. So it was a good way to like bring that socialness out of me. But ultimately, that was it, And then but yeah, when I stopped drinking, like you're saying, it was just like, whoa, okay, this is an easy choice. Like, you're like, I remember I went to my first party.
I get to make money.
Yeah.
I get to talk to new people and do all these things that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I went to the first party at my cousin's birthday. There was a bunch of people over drinking and started, and that was the first time I had, since I had been sober, about 4 weeks after I decided to, that was the first time I went, and I remember going in and was like, I hadn't told anybody at this point, and I didn't want to really make a deal out of it, so I was just like, I won't say anything, but I'll just like drink a Diet Coke or whatever, and whatever. So I went in, and after we got done, I talked to Elise and I was like, I'm so glad I didn't drink because I already know how that night was going to go. I could see it in my head. I was going to start drinking. I'd have a drink there when I got there. Then I'd have a couple more. Then I'd start making doubles. Then I'd start doing shots with everyone that wanted to do shots. And now I'm plastered. My wife's sober, most like, she's not sober, like she drinks, but she's probably not even close to my level. And now she has to take care of me. And I'm putting that huge burden on my wife, which is just so unfair to her. So it was just like, I'm so glad that I didn't have to wake up the next morning and feel not only like shit physically, but also shit because I, with a burden on my wife, or, I said some stupid shit, or like just I wasn't who I am. So yeah, I think it was a very easy choice once I finally made that. It's like, That's easy. On to the next
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Yeah, the money thing was definitely. I think after the first month, I'd say. I mean, and it wasn't even the alcohol part, but like, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not exactly skinny.
I'm right there with you, brother.
I mean, I could easily spend $100 on ordering out and stuff. So
Yeah.
just after the first couple of weeks of not drinking, I probably saved myself $200-300, and I was like, let's go get some Pokemon to rip, or let's go do this, and then you can start doing other things. And
Exactly. Yep.
yeah, man. Well, I mean, congrats on the year, man.
Yeah.
It's great. And
Congrats on your almost
anyone
year.
out there, if you're
Yeah.
thinking about pulling the trigger, I would suggest you do it, because you underestimate how many doors it's going to open for you. So
Yeah, I agree. It's been a good year sober.
yeah, I think that's about it. Unless you had anything else you want to talk about. Like I said, it's my first time doing this, so I didn't really know how I was going to go, but I think I had fun. I hope you did too.
I had a blast. Yeah, I would keep going, but yeah, it's just eventually we have to end it off. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on your first show. It's an honor, and it's been really fun. I really enjoy your content. You've got fantastic content. You're very comfortable in front of a camera. You're doing things different than a lot of other people too, and that's very interesting to see how that works for you. And I watch every video that you come out with, so I appreciate it.
Likewise, man. I know I told Pastor this, but you and Pastor are well, I shouldn't say single-handedly, because there's two people, but seeing you guys, the consistency of which, because that's still something I'm struggling with, is trying to figure out what to talk to some days, but seeing you guys do it every day for the 2 months or 3 months that I found you guys, I was like, all right, these guys are doing it. It's time to do it. So you're killing it, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. Make sure you tell everybody real quick where to find you, socials, selling platforms, everything.
Yeah, just go to ItsPhantomCards. All my stuff is on there on my YouTube channel. My eBay store, Tcgplayer store isn't linked in there. And then Discord, I have a Discord channel that I do that we try to build up and just get a bunch of people together and all about learning the process. So yeah, you can also join that as well. But that's also at my channel.
Yeah, I'll have everything linked down below too. So,
yeah.
Dude, I appreciate the time very much, man.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah.
Hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you in the next episode, and hope you have a good one.